Hey, we're on page 5 of functions. Just to review a couple important formulas for this page. Area equals length times width, and volume equals length times width times height. Just remember that. Number 1, a rectangular piece of card measures 30 by 15. Squares of length x are cut from each corner. The remaining card is then folded to make an open box of length L and width W. This kind of problem is like very frequent in IB. So just to draw it out, you got a piece of paper and you cut corners out of each, or you cut squares out of each corner to make this shape. And each one of these squares is x, has sides of length x, okay? And then the total width is 15, and the total length is 30, okay? And once you get it cut out, then you can like fold up the sides, right? And if you fold up the sides, you can make a box out of it. Okay, you can kind of make a box like this with no top if you fold up the sides along these dotted lines. Do you get it? Okay, so they're going to ask you about the area and the volume of this box. So first they say, write an expression in terms of x for the length of the box. And they're talking about this one here, okay? So this one is L long and W wide. And the height, of course, is x, right? Because they just folded it up. And so each one of these squares is x long. So if you fold it up, the height of the box is, of course, going to be x. So let's write an expression for L. Well, L was originally 30, but it's not 30 anymore because they folded up the two sides that are both x long. So it's 30 minus x, correct? What about the width? The width is similar. It started out with 15, but then we folded up two sides, each measuring x, so it's 15 minus x minus x. So those are our two expressions for width and length, okay? And we could simplify that a little bit. We could write 30 minus 2x, and we could write 15 minus 2x. So that was A. What about B? Find an expression for the volume of the box V in terms of x. Okay, explain in terms of, okay. So V we could write using the formula length times width times height. We could write that V is equal to the length, which is 30 minus 2x, times the width, which is 15 minus 2x, times the height, which is just x. Okay, so that was the first part. Then it says, explain in words the meaning of V, function V, with the input of 3. Well, the input is the x value, and I don't know if they show that here, but like V, it's a function of the box in terms of x, so you write it like that. The input, which is x, they say is 3. So what we mean by V3 is, we could say it's the, oopsie. We could say that V3 is the volume of the box when x, or the height, is 3. Okay? Let's see what else. And then they say, find the value of V3. Okay, so if we want to do that, we'll say, okay, well, when x equals 3, V is equal to 30 minus 2 times 3, which would be about 30 minus 6, right? 30 minus 6 times 15 minus 2 times 3 is also 6, and then x is 3, okay? So we have here 24 times 9 times 3, which is 24 times 27. 24 times 27 equals 648 is the volume. Okay. Find the value of V3.4. Okay, so now they're asking us for a different one. If we put this in the calculator, then we wouldn't have to do all this algebra. So why don't we do that now? I should have done that from the very beginning, right? So I'm going to put 30 minus 2x, 30 minus 2x. And I'm going to put 15 minus 2x, 15 minus 2x. And then I'm going to multiply everything by x. Okay, and then I'm going to graph it. Okay, and of course it doesn't appear because I need to do zoom fit. So I choose zoom fit. Okay, so now we can see the curve. Let's see if we can do a trace 3.4. 3.4. It gives us a value of y equals 646.8. So when V 3.4 is equal to 646.8. Okay. I'll just go ahead and put, since it's an exact decimal, I'll go ahead and put 0.816. Then it says, is x equals 8 in the domain of the function v of x? Justify your decision. Okay, let's just try that. We're going to put trace 8 and see what happens. Oh, it tells me that y equals negative 112, which means that the volume of the box is negative, which means does not exist. Now, why does that happen? Well, look here. If x equals 8, look at how much we're going to cut off the box here. The width of the box is 15. If I cut two squares out of the corners that are 8 wide, what's left here in the white part? Nothing, right? Because 8 plus 8 is already 16. It's greater than the width of the box. So it doesn't make sense to cut out a square of the corner that is 8 wide, right? So that's why, no, 8 is not in the box. No, 8 is not in the domain, okay? And the reason why is because the width of the box is 15. So the most you could have is almost 7.5, okay? And it doesn't even make sense to have 7.5. It wouldn't even be a box then, okay? Max is 7.5. Okay, 7.5. Okay. Moving on to number 2. The perimeter of a rectangle is 24 centimeters and its length is x. Okay, it's always helpful to draw a picture on these. So we drew a picture. The length is x. We don't know what the width is, so we'll just write w. But one thing we do know is if we add x plus w plus w, which is the perimeter, we'll get 24. We could rewrite that as 2x plus 2w equals 24. Find the width of the rectangle in terms of the length x. Okay, this is an algebra problem. We know that the width is w, but they want it just writing x's and numbers. So we can do that. We just need to solve for w in terms of x. To do that, we can isolate the w. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. That'll give us 2w equals 24 minus 2x. W equals 12 minus x. So w is equal to 12 minus x. That's the answer to A. B. Find the expression for the area of the rectangle A in terms of x. X times 12 minus x. Okay, right? And then C1. Explain the meaning of A with an input of 2. Okay, so that would be the area of the rectangle when length is 2. So I'm just going to make this a little smaller. Okay. Right there. Okay, and then calculate A with input of 2. Well, that would be oops. It would be A equals 2 times 12 minus 2, which is 10. So it would be 2 times 10, which is 20. Okay, so A of 2, let me write that there. A with input of 2 is equal to 20. Is x equals 12 in the domain of the function ax? Justify your decision. Well, let's see what would happen if we did a equals, with x equals 12. We'd have 12 minus 12. This would become 0, and the whole thing would be 0, so the area would be 0. What would happen is you're using all of your perimeter for the length, and you'd have nothing left over for the width, so you just have a super thin triangle like that, or a rectangle. So, no, it's not really in the domain. You could say something like length would have to be less than 12 to make a rectangle. Okay? All right. Number 3. The Simpsons rent a holiday house costing $300 for a security deposit plus $150 per day. Let n be the number of days they stay in the house and c be the cost of renting the house. Write a formula for c in terms of n. So the cost of the renting in the house is equal to the security deposit, 300, plus 150 per day. 150 times the number of days. The number of days happens to be n. So there's our formula. And if you remember arithmetic sequences series, this is like an arithmetic sequence. In fact, the formula looks kind of like the arithmetic sequence formula. How much does it cost to rent the house for 30 days? Okay, so then we would just put 30 in for n, right? So we'd have 300 plus 150 times 30. Let's calculate that. 150 times 30. 4,500 plus 300 is 4,800. I guess I didn't need the calculator to do that. Okay. The Simpsons have $2,300 to spend on the rent of the house. Write down an inequality. Inequality is like greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, or equal to, using your answer to part A to express this condition. So basically what they want is they want to make the cost, 300 plus 150n, less than or equal to 2,300, because that's how much money they have. They can't stay any longer than that, all right? Hence, decide whether they have enough money to rent the house for 2 weeks. So let's put 2 weeks in for n. Well, n, we need days, and 2 weeks is in weeks. How many days in 2 weeks? N is equal to 2 times 7, 14 days, right? So let's see. If we put 14 in for n, does that work out? 300 plus 150 times 14. What does that equal to? 150 times 14. 2,100 plus 300, which would be 2,400, which is that less than 2,300? No. Okay, so they do not have enough money to rent for 2 weeks. Write down the maximum number of days they can rent the house. Well, you know, they almost had enough for 2 weeks. Instead of 13 days, 14 days, they had enough for 13 days, right? Because they were only $100 short. All right. So, and you could do that with your calculator. You could put the formula for the cost into the calculator here. I'm going to put 300 plus 150 times n, and then I'm going to check it out in the table. When I see it on the table, I can see, oh, look at that. 6 days cost me 1,200, for example. I'm going to check to make sure that 14 days really is 2,400. Yeah, it is. So you can see here easily on the table that for 13 days it's 2,250, and that would be enough. Okay, because they have 2,300. Last problem on this page, number 4. An Australian company produces and sells books. The monthly cost in Australian dollars for producing X books is modeled by this complicated equation here. The monthly income in Australian dollars for selling X books is modeled by this. Okay, so this assumes that you know something about these business words like profit equals income minus cost. Okay, they might have problems like these, so write this down in your cheat sheet. For sure, what they're going to ask you to do is take the cost equation and the income equation and make a profit equation out of it. Let's see if they ask that. A, show that the company's monthly profit can be calculated using the function. Ah, they did give us that. And they tell us that profit equals income minus cost. So what if we take the income equation here and we subtract the cost equation here? What if we do that? So we're going to take the income equation, negative 0.6x squared plus 160x. And then we're going to subtract the cost equation, which is 0.4x squared plus 1,500. Okay? And then, let's see, I'm going to distribute this negative sign within the parentheses. So I'm going to put plus here and negative here and negative here. Okay? And the reason why I didn't write the 1,500 directly under the 160x is because those terms are not like terms, so I can't combine them. Okay, so I'm going to write, I'm going to combine negative 0.6x squared with negative 0.4x squared, and I get negative 1x squared. Then I get 160x, because that's all there is for the x terms, and then I do minus 1,500. Now I'm going to see, did I get what they told me I was going to get? Negative x squared plus 160x minus 1,500. I did. I got the profit equation that they said I should get. So I just showed you how you can figure that out, doing I minus C. So what profit does the company make on producing and selling 6 books? Comment on your answer. So basically, if we put an input of 6, then we should be able to get into the profit equation, we should get the profit. So we could put negative 6 squared plus 160 times 6 minus 1,500. And why don't we just put the equation in the calculator? Because I'm sure they're going to ask us several other things. So it's useful to have the equation in here, and we just can use it to calculate all the values. Oops, that wasn't the right one. My eyes are getting old, so I can't see anymore the small letters. Negative x squared, and then I'm going to do plus 160x plus 160x minus 1,500. Minus 1,500. Okay, and then I'm going to look at the table. And so, like, for example, when, or what is the profit when you do 6 books? What is the profit for 6 books? It's negative 576. Negative 576 is for 6 books, okay? Comment on your answer. Well, what they want you to do is say, what does that mean to have a negative profit of 576? What it means is that, you know, a profit, you're happy because you made money, right? In this case, though, you are not making money. You are losing money. So negative 576 profit means that you lost $576. Okay, so that's your comment. All right. Find the selling price of one book when 40 books are produced and sold. Find the selling price of one book when 40 books are produced and sold. Selling price, that is, look here, it's the income. Do you see where it says income for selling books? So selling price is not the same as profit. Okay, so what do we need to do? 140 books, selling price. Okay, so let's find the income. Let's find the income when we sell 40 books. So we're going to put the income equation in the calculator, which is negative 0.6 squared, 0.6x squared, (160x). Okay, and then I'm going to turn off this equation because we don't want to see it for right now. Okay, we'll just press enter there, and that makes the first equation disappear temporarily, and then it just gives us the profit or the income equation because they're asking us about the income on 40 books. So now we're going to use table again, and we're going to see for 40 books what the total income is. Okay, and it's not going to take that long to get up to 40. We're almost there. Okay, 5,440. Okay, so for the total income for 40 books is 5,440. Okay, and then for one book, I can divide the total income by 40. If I do that, then I'm going to get the price of one book. 5,440 divided by 40. One book costs $136. Must be a textbook to be so expensive, huh? All right. Use your GDC to find the number of books for which P of X equals 0. Okay, now we go back to y equals again. We're going to turn on the first equation, which is the profit equation, and then we're going to turn off the second equation, which is the income equation. We just used the income equation for the last part, but we don't need it anymore, so we'll just turn it off. Disable it by pressing enter on the equal sign. So now we'll look at second table again. And then it says to find the number of books for which P of X equals 0. So when is the profit equation equal to 0? Let's see. Looks like for 30 books we're making thousands of dollars. When are we gonna actually get $0, which is called the break-even point in business land? Oh, when we have 10 books, we're gonna get back exactly what we paid to publish the books. Okay, so like the income is equal to the cost. So 10 books is the answer. Okay? All right, that's it for this page.